Good morning. I want to introduce you to a high school student that I taught named Oliver. Now, Oliver wasn't the best student. He was disruptive in class and would turn in the bare minimum homework if he turned it in at all. And from the outside, it seems like Oliver had no interest in any sort of academic pursuits. Except every day during our 30-minute lunch period, he would come into my classroom because in the back I had a little cabinet with some Arduino kits. And he would spend that 30-minute lunch period tinkering away on these robots. And every single time he would ask me, please, can I take this with me? I want to take it home to my other classes. I want to keep working on this. I want to keep learning robotics. And I had to say no, because these were the only kits that our school had. And if anything happened to them, they couldn't be replaced. And it's a shame that I had to turn down Oliver's passion simply because our school did not have a robotics program that suited him. And this is a real story about a real student, but it's a real story about a lot of students. 52% of students in the US are lacking resources due to underfunding in their school. How many of these students would thrive in the engineering environment and can't simply because their school is unable to provide the resources that they need to learn? Hi, I'm Andrew Batson. I'm joined by Talia Hawkins, and we are ABC RoboKits. We are introducing today an accessible, hands-on, immersive robotics curriculum available at an affordable price.
Oliver's story is not unique. In fact, the After School Alliance nonprofit agrees with me. They did an analysis of the type of programs in the US, specifically after-school programs. And this time we're going to be focusing on the difference between math activities and tech and engineering activities. As you can see, math activities have the same number of schools participating in, and no matter if it was lowest income or highest income schools. However, tech and engineering, which robotics falls under, has half of the students in the lowest income schools participating in them compared to highest income schools. Why would that be? Well, think about it. For math activities, the barrier to entry is fairly low. In fact, you just need a calculator, a sheet of paper, and a pencil, and you're ready to go. However, tech and engineering has a lot more initiative that has to go behind it, and oftentimes that might be the result of money or different factors. So that means that lowest income schools do not have the same opportunity. That means that robotics education is losing a key market due to its high barriers to entry. But what are the exact disparities that have been causing this problem? Well, the first one is the one that I had said before, which is financial barriers. But it's a little more complicated than that. Even for schools that have the access to thousands of dollars in funds in order to compete in these robotics competitions, still have a big disparity between the two. As you can see between these robots, the $2,000 robot has a very minimal structure and design based on compared to the $5,000 robot. And as you can see, the $5,000 robot definitely did better in competitions than the $2,000 robot. This means that the reason why financial barriers are a big hurdle for a lot of schools is not just because of limited budgets, but it's also the fact that these robotics competitions are formatted in a way where there's a pay-to-play model, and the more money you put into the program, the more education, the more access you get. Then there's a lack of expertise. What a lot of people don't know is that a lot of these robotics programs have teachers and coaches that do not have the expertise to back behind it to teach students. You wouldn't want your basketball coach to teach your art studio, even when they've never touched a paintbrush in their life. In the same way, you wouldn't want someone who doesn't have robotics or an engineering background to teach robotics. Then there is the aspect of there's too many students on one team. This may seem exaggerated to you, but no, this is a very realistic standard. You can see that there are about 30 people in for one robot, and if you want to have the real reality of who actually worked on this robot, it's just these 3 students. 90% of the work was done by them. And you can imagine that the rest of the students were twiddling their thumbs in the corner, waiting to just screw something in. But why do we care specifically? Well, me, I am the founder of ABC RoboKits, and I've been doing robotics competitions since I was in elementary, going through middle school and high school. And it even inspired me to create my own robotics club at the university campus. But I've been one of the fortunate ones. I've been very privileged, and I've had access to the opportunities, but many students do not get that opportunity instead. So I want to be able to limit the number of students who are in Oliver's situation. And we want to be able to provide our own solution to this problem. We have come up with Smashbox, an affordable, accessible, and comprehensive robotics educational curriculum. And make no mistake, we may seem like every other type of robotics company and robotics education company, but how we differentiate ourselves is the fact that we actually teach robotics as our main product, rather than just provide pillars of education and learning. The first portion is automation. Not automation necessarily in the fact that you would program a robot to go and do things on its own, but automating the mind and teaching students the robotic skills that they need so that it becomes second nature, so that creativity is their only limit. Here's an example of our instructional video that we have on our website. Then there's the build process. This is the obvious one that gets a lot of students up and excited. The automation process helps you build your own chassis in computer-aided design software, but we give them a kit of parts so that they'll be able to see their big creations come to life once they've designed what they want to use as their robot base. Then there's the competition aspect. This is an important step as it gives students a realistic format for them to test their robotic skills. Here's an example of a clip that we've had of our BattleBots competitions, which is the format in which we like to present SmashBots. And we have local competitions, and it'll only grow as we grow with it. Here's an example of the education module on our current website for any student who purchases our kits. And we like to follow the format of one student per robot. This means that every student gets their own opportunity to learn as many skills as they want to without being one of the ones that are sidelined. A good analogy of what we actually sell is while other companies like to sell Legos and teach students how to build with Legos, we want to teach students how to make their own Legos so they can solve their own unique problems in their own unique situations. If you're unsure about whether or not this works, well, we have a bit of traction. Last year, we did a BattleBots competition, or what we call the Robo Riot, and we were able to get Hostile Academy Fayetteville students, which is a charter school in our area, to go and compete in our competition. Everything you see on this slide are unique student designs using our SmashBot techniques. For reference, these three right here in the middle are our template designs that we can teach students if they want to start somewhere, as well as this robot right here. The one at the end right there is a unique design from a student in our program. And we've serviced over 50 students. Here's some customer validation and testimonials from previous students who have gone through our program. Favorite S says that he loves the mixture of artistic creativity and engineering challenges, as well as the out-of-box problem solving. And Jace Jesse, who loves learning about CAD design, assembly, and soldering, and viewed robotics as incredibly valuable.
ABC RoboKits has a couple different competitors. First, there's the various one-off robotics activity kits that educational companies will provide, as well as First and Vex, which are fairly big names in the competitive robotics education space. However, compared to these competitors, our SmashBots product stands out in several key ways. First, we do provide a fully comprehensive technical curriculum. That means that compared to the one-off activity kits, which might have an hour or two of content at most, or First and Vex, which don't provide any instruction and put the entire responsibility on teaching on the instructor who might not have the experience to teach engineering, or more often than not, the students themselves. We actually do provide this curriculum so that students are able to learn with our product. We also offer a competition option. This gives something for students to work towards at the end of a semester other than a test or exam. And also, because there is this competition option, all of the skills that they are learning are immediately applicable to the real world, making it more engaging. Finally, we're wanting to make sure we have a one-to-one student-to-robot ratio so that every single student gets the entire education experience while working on the robot. Compare that to First or Vex, which often has teams of 10 students working on one robot, meaning every student only gets a fraction of the time if the robot's not being monopolized by just a couple of students. We're also considerably less expensive than our competitors, offering an entire semester's worth of content for the price of an hour or two activity kit, or compared to the other semester-long options, operating at a sixth or even a 12th of the price, looking just at the starter kits. We are able to sell our kits from anywhere between $80 to $110, depending on the grade level of the kit, so elementary, middle school, high school. Because of this low price, we are able to give robots to a student for under $100, compared to the thousands of dollars that schools would have to spend on a single robot with our competitors. Now, even with this low price, we're still looking at 70 to 80% profit margins, and that's not including the $5 to $10 monthly curriculum subscription that teachers will have access to. Now, because of our low price, we are able to service 10 times the number of students with the school's same budget. So a school that would have originally been able to buy one robot for one club of 4 kids is now able to service every single one of the students in their robotics classroom. Now, any educator would benefit from Smashbots, but we're specifically wanting to work with underserved education environments. Our early adopters are private schools and homeschool groups. For private schools, there's a more direct line of purchase power. We can work directly with the teachers teaching these classes and build a relationship with them to better understand how their students are interacting with Smashbots. We're also able to ignore any district restrictions that might come into play when working with a public school. Homeschool groups are another key part of our early adopters. Since 2020, the number of homeschool families in Arkansas has doubled. There's now just under 30,000 homeschool students in Arkansas, and that number continues to grow. Also, by working with homeschool groups, we're able to leverage a key part of homeschool group culture. Homeschool parents will often meet in co-ops and discuss the tools that they're using to help teach their children. So by working with this group, we're getting free word-of-mouth marketing. Also, due to things like the recently passed LEARNS Act, which is giving parents in Arkansas additional funding to spend on non-traditional educational tools like Smashbots, this is a primed market for ABC RoboKits. Now, if we look at just our early adopters, our private schools and homeschool students in Arkansas, we're looking at a serviceable, obtainable market of $110 million. This then expands to our neighboring 6 states for a serviceable addressable market of $600 million. And then if you look at the total addressable market of U.S. robotics education, you're looking at a market of $9 billion. Now, we are projecting slow but steady growth in our first 3 years as we focus on building self-sustaining practices, always having enough funds at the end of 1 year to finance the next, and really focus on building community relationships. We're wanting to work very closely with the parents, students, and educators that are using our products so that we have the best possible version of Smashbots ready for our full launch at the start of year 4. Our go-to-market strategy has 3 main prongs. We want to make sure that there is free content available online, for examples of our curriculum or lesson plans, so that educators have an idea of what they're getting into. We've also had success being in physical spaces. This is a recent Maker Faire event that we attended. We also have some other additional events lined up in the future, especially once summer begins and we can start going to teacher conferences. As we continue to expand outside of Arkansas, we're also wanting to get into influencer or affiliate marketing, working with small content creators directly within our robotics education niche so that the turnover rate of our ads is more efficient. To date, we have sold 25 units, 19 of which were to Hostel Academy Fayetteville. This is a very key client of ours because Hostel Academy is known to be very prestigious. So, by working with this group, we have a seal of quality on Smashbots. To date, we have raised $5,000 in capital and earned $2,200 in revenue. Now, thank you. Now, we are the perfect team to be taking on this challenge. Thalia and myself are graduate students, and we are joined by Justin, who is a private school teacher. Between the 3 of us, we have over 15 years combined experience in education and engineering. We have experience working with the homeschool market, experience selling with vendors, experience managing over $50,000 of robotics funding. Justin and myself both hold teaching licenses in the public and private sector, and we all have experience working with the products of our competitors, both as students and educators, giving us a very unique insight into their pitfalls so that we can be sure to avoid them with Smashbots. Thank you so much for listening. Do you have any questions?